Behind me is my new boat, the 2025 Alumacraft 205X Competitor. This thing is a beast. In this video, we're doing a walkthrough, and we are gonna see how fast this 400 horsepower Verado can move this boat. Stay tuned. All right, we're out on the water. This is the new Alumacraft 205X Sport 2025 model. Wow, things have changed. The first thing you're gonna say is, Jay, where is the tiller? Why no more tiller life? I've seen the comments, I've taken the flack. Well, we're gonna talk about that in this video. We're gonna talk about everything. I'm gonna give you a walkthrough on the features, what I like about this boat, and yeah, how it's changed the way I fish. I've had it for a couple weeks now. I would say it's now fully rigged. I like to fish out of these boats a little bit to, you know, figure out some of the details and to get it dialed before I shoot these videos. Hopefully you guys find this helpful. If there's something I didn't answer, ask a question down below and I'll do my best to answer. But yes, Alumacraft redesigned their boats this year. I had a chance to get my hands on these boats last year, actually. I got a chance to drive one of the ones with the max deck, that big deck that goes over the motor. And then as well, I got to try one of the smaller competitor tillers. I will link that walkthrough video below on that one. But yes, we switched to a windshield. I think I should just get it out of the way right now. Why the windshield? Well, if you guys follow me online, you know that our family has grown. Now there's two boys, Hannon and Jimmy, you know, plus Sam. So for myself, I like to involve my family with my work as much as possible, or even if we're not working, I like to bring my family out in the boat. The windshield is sometimes the difference maker for that. I love the tiller. The tiller, you have that big wide open space. I've talked about lots in boats before. Obviously you're sacrificing a bit of space for the windshield, but it's a trade-off. In this case, if it's windy, if it's raining, you have some protection behind the windshield as well. You can get a top for it, which I may or may not build in the future to really get this thing boxed in and warm. But when you're driving down the lake and you're behind a windshield, it's a cold day, a windy day, you are so thankful for a windshield. Number one reason is the family aspect. But secondly is the way I have fished has changed. I went through my last, I don't know, 100 YouTube videos. Out of the 100 videos, I don't even know, maybe like 5 of them I fished out of the back of the boat, being front-facing sonar. The way we have fished has changed. I looked at the stats, at the facts. I stand at the front of the boat. If you watch a lot of, you know, professional anglers, they are at the front of the boat. Some people are still at the tiller, doing some sharpshooting, doing some, you know, vertical fishing. But just the way that my style has changed in the last couple of years, I'm at the front all the time. So that was another reason why I didn't have the need for the tiller as much. And with most boats, there is a different power rating as well. So that's why we were allowed a bigger motor on the back, because windshield models typically will have a higher engine rating. So that's why we got this big old 400 horse on the back that I'm gonna talk about. But we will start at the front of the 205 Sport. All right, we're at the front of the boat. We are gonna start, I guess one of the most obvious things on the new Alumacrafts is they redesigned the nose here. A little different. The previous nose was a little more square. This one has some cool features built in. But right on the tip of it is the Garmin Kraken. I did a dedicated video on this motor, I think 2 years ago, I guess. This thing is a beast. It comes in 3 shaft configurations. There's a 63, a 75, and a 90-inch shaft. I went with the 75. You might be able to get away with a 63, but in big waves, just the chance of it coming out, the 75, you don't have to worry about it. You will see on the trolling motor, there is 2 live scope transducers. So I got a buddy, Dan Fuller. He's got a company called Black Sheep Outdoors, and they do boat rigging out of the Bemidji area. He said, are you able to, you know, fit 2 live scope transducers through the shaft of the Kraken? And I said, nope, just 1 from my understanding. And then he sent me a picture a couple weeks later. He said, look, I fit 2 through it. So with a little bit of magic, which I will leave that to Black Sheep Outdoors. If you want to have it done, you should reach out to him, but he knows how to thread 2 through the shaft of the motor. So we've got an LVS 34 on forward mode. We've got a 62, the long distance one, the big one that I use for deep water lake trout. We have that on perspective mode. Like I said, the beauty of the Kraken, all the wires run through the shaft of the motor. It's nice and clean, it's amazing. The other thing about this motor is it comes with a stabilizer mount. So actually use the Alumacraft system, this rail system on the boat, which you know, you can use for rod holders, you can use for cup holders, tool holders. In this case, I modified the stabilizer arm, cut it really short, and now it just stays out of the way, because some people put their stabilizer arm on the carpet. I put it on the Alumacraft here, so it's out of the way. Stabilizer is necessary for the longer motor size. Another thing to mention with this whole nose plate is they actually reinforce, so there's an extra sheet of steel underneath, because trolling motors are getting so powerful these days. I've seen on older boats that it can actually pop the rivets on the edge here. So Alumacraft did a good job of reinforcing it underneath with another steel plate. So you'll notice this indent here. You can actually see this little piece of puckboard on the back here. So if you want, how they design this is if you take that piece of puckboard out, you can cut a hole in it and you can actually inset and flush mount a graph up to 12 inches. So I got 2 GPS maps. These are 12-inch. The reason I go with the GPS maps here is because I want to be able to screen record so you guys can see what's going on. The thing about the GPS map, it has HDMI out on the back. The EcoMap Ultra 2s have screen recording as well, but you have to do it through your phone. It's just not as convenient for when I'm sometimes screen recording all day. So we got 2 12-inch here. This top screen I dedicate to perspective mode. Middle screen dedicated to forward mode, and then this bottom EcoMap Ultra 2 is a 12-inch as well. This one is dedicated to mapping. This top mount right here, this is a Geiger Tech. It's not a cheap mount, but it is absolutely just rock solid, and it can handle up to a 16-inch screen if you're putting a 16-inch screen on the front of your boat. For the middle here, I just mounted it right onto that plate, onto that HDP, and on the bottom, I got some cheap little Canadian Tire L brackets, and that's how I mounted the bottom, and that probably has the most swing to it, but a little bit of bounce and it's not bad. Another thing I really like here, it's got USB on the side here, these waterproof little USB ports. So there's 2 ports on the side for your phone, but in my case, I use it for my live scope recorder. So the way that I have it set up right now is I have an HDMI cord that I just keep tucked away in this little hole. This is for my screen recorder. And then I have my power cord, my USB-C. But these holes are actually made for a tool holder. So you could put a pair of pliers, a pair of forceps. They sit in there. It's always nice to have tools kind of at every part of your boat, but as well, like I said, I like to keep the cords tucked in, and then they're always along in case I need to do some filming. Here, you got the little bungee. That's for holding your phone. Nice convenient spot. You can see, who your calls and texts are coming from because it's nice and accessible there. Speakers on either side. There's a Bluetooth speaker in the back, cup holder in the front. Another cool thing that you don't see in the front is your lights. Your nav lights, your red and green lights, that normally there's a little pole and you have to stick it in every time in the evening when it gets dark. Well, now it's actually mounted onto the outside of the boat, and that is so convenient. I know some people out of laziness, they don't put their lights in when it gets dark, and that is very dangerous on the water without having your lights on. The beauty of these nav lights on the outside is there's nothing to plug in. They're on the side of your boat all the time. I just have to flip a switch and you can be safe. Coming over to the right side here, you've got this little up and down switch. I know it's something you can add aftermarket, but this one came stock. So this is a little trim switch. So up and down on the back here, I can trim up to 400. Beside it, something I added I didn't have on my past boat is some little stomp buttons for my talon. That's that shallow water anchor that goes in the back. So I can just stomp with my foot up and down, and I can drop the talon. I don't have to worry about the remote. The other thing you will notice is these 2 holes on either side. One of them I actually used for rigging my cords in and out, but they are rod holders. So you put the butt of your rod in this end at the front, and then the rod tips go in pointed towards the back of the boat. So you can fit, probably an additional 8 rods on these side panels. And honestly, I wasn't super pumped on the feature when I first saw it, but now that I've used it, it's just a great way to keep your rods out of the way. With a deck this size, you don't have length for a full-size rod to just lay flat, but with those rod holders, now you have a chance to have them laid out and out of the way. Another new feature is this little panel right here. Comes out, and this is a recessed seat for your trolling motor pedal. I know some people have done this on their boats on their own in the past. They've added a little port for it, but basically you pull this panel out. There's a hole here if you do have a corded pedal that you can run the cord underneath. But for me, I open that up and keeping my pedal in here, and then it rests here. So depending on, the profile of the pedal you have, it will help you stay a little more balanced all day. Because in the past, you're kind of off balance, kind of putting all your pressure on one knee for a lot of the day. So it is very noticeable after a long day of fishing when your feet are, basically level in the boat. So going further back, obviously we've got the seat pedestal here. If you're putting in a butt seat, a casting seat, a camera, whatever you might put there. One thing they did change with their compartments here is roto-molded. So these 2 compartments up here are roto-molded plastic. This front one here, this is what I'm keeping right now. I got some Daiwa plastics, I got some rope, first aid kit, fire extinguisher, but yeah, like those nice roto-molded tubs. And then this foam compresses on the edge of the lid. So It's a nice touch for sure. So behind that front roto-molded compartment is the bow live well. I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't use my bow live well, my front live well. I use it as storage. So what I'm gonna do, I haven't done it yet, I'm gonna silicone all these compartments off, and it's gonna be dry storage. It's that same roto-molded style container, but it is a 21-gallon live well if you are a person that wants 2 live wells in your boat. All right, just to the left of the live well here, you got cargo mesh behind it. You got your gas cap. It is a 48-gallon gas tank on this boat, which you want a big gas tank when you got a big motor on the back. So I'm happy about that. Moving over to the starboard side. Big storage container here, the big roto-molded one. Open that up, it's got tons of room. Here I keep a bunch of plastics, life jackets, bumpers. I'll clear everything out just so you can see how big this is. My safety gear, more life jackets, ropes, paddle. It's got that foam matting on the floor, which kind of stops things from rattling around and bumping too hard when you're hitting a wave. But yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of storage in the front of this boat. All right, well, that's the front of the boat. There's a lot going on, but we're gonna keep working our way to the back. We're gonna take a moment for a quick montage of some pretty boating shots, and then we will walk through the windshield, the console, all that good stuff. All right, before we work any further back, we do have the antenna here for a guy that likes to listen to radio out on the lake. There's a Bluetooth stereo up here on the dash. There's 2 speakers in the front, 2 speakers down by my feet here. But yeah, this is really nice sitting in this seat and cruising down the lake. These are the captain's chairs. They recline, they got armrests. They're good for sitting in the sun when the fish aren't biting. They are so comfortable. This has the air ride pedestal as well, so when you're bouncing on the waves, it does help soften the blow a little bit. Steering wheel. I haven't owned past steering wheel boats, so I don't have much to compare to on the steering wheel side of things, but it's got an adjustment if you want to lower or raise their steering wheel there. So one thing about this boat that's cool is they went away with the analog gauges, so now it's all digital. The boat comes rigged with a 7-inch Garmin Echo map. So all of it, your RPM, your speed, your gas gauge, if there's error codes, everything runs through that Garmin. It's nice too because I'm already running a Garmin system, so I can network it together and share waypoints. Myself, I'm not too concerned about RPMs and looking at some of that other stuff on the dash, so I use it as another fishing graph. So I'm using it either for mapping. I have a 2D transducer hooked up to it, so I use it for that as well. So above it, I've got a 10-inch GPS map. Once again, I like being able to screen record with this. I use this for mapping, and if I want to see what my live scope is seeing at the back, then I can, these are networked together. And then I've got the 12-inch Echo Map Ultra 2, and this one I use for mapping and side view, depending on the scenario. It's all networked together. You can see this little grommet in the back, which makes the rigging really easy. And there is room for easily 2 12-inch screens back here. And they did a good job, once again, of putting steel plates underneath because they realized people are putting more and bigger graphs on their boats. On the side here, I got my Talon remote, nice and handy. It's there all the time if I need it, I'm not searching for it. Below by my right knee here, I've got all the switches, main power, my lights, my horn, bilge, live well for the front and the back. There is under lighting underneath, underglow lighting, whatever you want to call it, underneath the gunnel here, which is a nice touch as well. Beside me is the throttle control for the Verado V10 400 horse. I don't know what the top speed is going to be now that we've added all the batteries and the graphs and fishing gear and all that stuff, but you got to watch till the end to find out, because a 400 horse on an aluminum boat is absolutely wild. And it's definitely gotten a lot of comments. I love it so far. I don't have too much experience with Verados. I had the Pro XS before. I love how quiet this motor is. It being a 400, I'll fire it up right now. Sometimes when you're at the front of the boat, it's tough to know if it's running. I get purrs. This isn't something I would do myself necessarily, but if you go to the Mercury plug-in on the Verado here, you can turn on the sport exhaust. So you know how the Pro XS sounds like a sports car? It sounds incredible. You can actually turn on something similar on the Verado. Listen to this. This is the sport exhaust. Now it sounds like a sports car. Myself, I'll probably turn it off. Try to keep a lower profile. It sounds mean when you turn it on. When you turn it off, it is quiet. I like to keep my kill cord in a little loop there and wear it around my wrist. I know some people hook it onto their life jacket and then they'll just take their life jacket off when they stop at the spot. I wear my life jacket all the time, so I find the easiest way is just to put it around my wrist because kill cords are important. On the side here, you can see a bunch of switches and dials. There's something called active trim. But basically, you can set trim levels depending on if you're taking off, if you're slowing down, it will adjust the trim for you. I haven't played with that yet. But anyways, we'll keep going down here. By my feet here, there's another little cubby that you can fit your wallet, some gear. There's another one of those phone holders, 2 cup holders here. This little switch on the side is for emptying, auto, recirc. Those are the settings for the back level, which I'll show you. But I'll get you guys to hop down here and then we'll take a look underneath the console here and show you what we got going on. All right, so underneath the dash here, you've got your fuse panel if you need to get at that. There's 2 compartments here. More storage. Storage is the name of the game. And I put my 2 LiveScope modules here. So you could put life jackets, you could put onboard chargers. But yeah, you can see there's a mess of cords back there because I wired a lot of graphs. There's a lot going on in this boat. All right, so between the console here, we got the rod locker. I got a lot of rods in here right now. I forget exactly what size they rated for. I think they rated for 8 or 8.5 feet. This is an 8-foot flipping rod. And let's just see, I mean, how far we can push it back. So right there, that's an 8-foot rod, and there's probably another foot. So while they don't market it this way, you could likely fit a 9-foot rod down the middle, which is pretty nice. I mean, right now in this rod locker, I know there's 8 slots, but you can fit 2 or 3 rods per slot. So you can easily fit 16 rods in the rod locker. You can see once again, they did that foam matting on the bottom to stop from your reels bouncing around and getting scuffed up, which I really appreciate. So underneath that tray is all the batteries, which we'll talk about in a minute. On the side of it here, they actually built in a little switch, a little fuse there, so you can turn off all your trolling motor batteries if you want with just the turn of the switch. So I really like that. And like I mentioned, it's lockable. The cool thing you'll notice too with how this rod locker comes out in the middle is it's tapered on the bottom, so you can still fit your feet underneath, you can fit stuff underneath. It doesn't take up space, like it's not a vertical edge down, you can get underneath it. All right, so this is the glove box. I've never had one in a boat before because I've driven a tiller, so there's just a lot of storage in here. A lot of miscellaneous gear. I keep a lot of tackle and stuff, cleaning supplies, fly line backing, hookout, fluorocarbon, all sorts of goodies. There's tons of room in there. And then as well, once again, another USB for charging your phones, charging a GoPro. You can never, like I said, have too many USBs. So it's once again lockable. And then on top, you've got another tray here. On the side here, you've got a little cubby. This is where I keep, some of my boat lines if I need to tie up to a dock. It's just a nice way to keep it accessible. Like I said, these are those speakers that are by your feet. And then this compartment is where I keep my 2 onboard chargers. I'll talk about more later. They fit perfectly in there, and that charges all 4 batteries on my boat. All right, we're working our way to the back of the boat. As you can see, there are spots for 4 seats, those 2 big captain's chairs in the front, and we've got 2 seats in the back. There's different flex modules, which I'll talk about because you can actually add 2 more seats in the back of this boat yet. But this boat has capacity for 8 people, which is wild. And I'm sure there will be times where I need 8 people in here. But what I love about Alumacrafts since the beginning is how wide they are. So this is 98 inches beam width. The overall length is 22 feet 2 inches now with these X-Pods. So we'll talk about the X-Pods. That's probably the biggest talking point of this entire boat. And the new feature is these little extensions on the back. So we'll talk about that more. But we've got storage on the left, storage on the right. So we're gonna start on the starboard side here for the storage. Yeah, they got a cooler, insulated cooler. It's nice and big. It actually sticks all the way back up into here, but it's got a drain on the bottom. If you got ice that melts by the end of the day, I keep my jet boil, some ramen noodles in there, waters, whatever I need for the day. All right, coming back from the cooler, you've got this other big starboard side storage. This is where I keep a lot of my tackle trays. I've got, 15 tackle trays on the side. Tons of space. One other thing you will notice looking at this compartment is this tube along the side. So these are rigging tubes. They did a good job of adding more rigging tubes in these boats. I know people are adding more transducers, more wires, networking, all that stuff. So it is nice to have big rigging tubes on the side. I found that very handy. Shout out to Mike, Real Life with Mike. He helped me a lot with rigging this boat as well as Black Sheep Outdoors. All right, so this compartment in the middle, this is where I keep the house battery and my DC to DC charger. I thought it'd be easier to film the rigging separate and just splice it into this video. So we're gonna show you a little insert of what I did for batteries, how I rigged it, and what I'm told is the professional walleye setup, because there's guys on the professional walleye trail running the Norsk Lithium, and this is how they run it. So this is what they recommended for my boat. All right, so a very common term these days is clean power for your electronics. It's dedicated power for the sonar modules, dedicated power for the graphs. So that's kind of how I'm rigging the boat up this time. So we've got 2 chargers, we've got 4 batteries. We've got 2 36 volt / 28 volt batteries. So these are new. That's a cool thing the Norsk is doing. They're doing the dual voltage. So for this battery, the 36 volt is what we're running with on the Kraken, the trolling motor. The 28 volt is actually what the Garmin GLS-10, the black box module, accepts. So you get clean, consistent power to the black box, plus I'm also powering the trolling motor. So I'm gonna get these 2 batteries, these 2 36 volt 60 amp hours, and we are gonna parallel them, meaning basically you're chaining them together so you get, you know, twice the amp hours. These 2 batteries at the bottom here, the 36 / 28, are going at the front, and as well, this 16 volt 135. So this is what I'm using for all my graphs. 16 volt, once again, it's what a lot of sonars accept. Historically, people have used 12 volt. This higher voltage is gonna give you longer runtime. We've got the 135 amp hour. So this is what I'm running 5 screens off of. I got 3 in the front, 2 in the back. And then we've got the big boy, the house battery. This is 180 amp hours of cranking. You'll see there's a bunch of posts on the top, which is sweet. You don't have to worry about stacking a bunch of things. If you get these batteries, something that I only found out when I got the batteries is there is like a system to waking the batteries up. You hook the charger up, you tap it on the terminals, and basically that wakes up the battery. They actually ship it in like a turned off safe storage sort of state. So that's something that you're gonna wanna do before you have it tucked away, is turn on the battery, charge it, make sure they're good. You wanna make sure these are all charged equally. But yeah, batteries are charged, batteries are happy. We got this charger, that's a 2-bank, 10 amp, 36 volt. So this is gonna charge these 2 batteries down here. And then this one over here, it can charge 12 volt or 16 volts. So it's gonna charge these 2 batteries up top, the house battery and the electronics battery. We are going to rig the chargers in. And there's one other piece that I didn't mention. I have a DC to DC charger. So one other thing I wanna talk about is ACC switch. So it's an accessory switch. I have this wired into that DC to DC charger I was just talking about. And basically it takes that Norsk house battery, that 12 volt, takes the voltage, converts it to 16, and charges that 16 volt battery in the front, the electronics battery. So the beauty is you're fishing a really long day, you're going for a run down the lake, you flip on that ACC switch and it charges your electronics battery. Or like, I don't even have to have the big motor running. I can still just run the charger and it'll just draw down that house battery. That house battery is huge if I'm not running live wells or stereos. All it's doing is cranking. But what I do basically is I keep the ACC switch off when I'm running from spot to spot. I flip it on, the alternator's charging the 12 volt, which as well then when the DC's on is charging the 16. So it's an amazing system, and I think it's definitely something you should have on your boat if you're running a lot of graphs and you're worried about draining your batteries. The other cool thing that I didn't mention is this 12 volt, the cranking battery. If it drops to 25%, it'll save a reserve. So you will never drop below 25. It'll save a 25% reserve for cranking, for turning over the motor. So if for some reason you have live wells running all day, the light, the radio going, and you totally forget about things, it will still save 25%, which will allow you to turn your motor over and charge the whole system. For now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna connect the DC to DC charger. Tuck that out of the way, but that DC to DC is good. Now, we're putting some chargers in. So they fit nicely side by side. Eventually, I might fasten them down, but I'm really not too concerned about that at the moment. So bank number 1 is the 12 volts. This one's going to the back of the boat. So we had to make an extension for the 12 volt charger since that 12 volt battery's in the back. So we're gonna tie these 2 together. All right, we're gonna start laying some batteries. I'm gonna go in 36 at the front, and then another 36, and then a 16. I stumbled upon Russell Marine Products. They sell a lot of online stuff and rig a lot of boats. And they recommended 10 gauge, this marined wire. Basically, it comes in this single white cord, and you splice it apart. But that's what I did for this boat. I think I bought 100 feet, and it was enough to rig. I pretty much used every single foot of it. Other than that, we're gonna drop the batteries in and start hooking things up. If you press the button on top, this will tell you your charge. So I'm 3 out of 4 bars there. And then as well, you can reset the BMS if you want. And that's essentially the battery management system. All right, so now we're at the back of the boat, and this is where you can actually customize it when you order your boat. There's 3 flex module options, they call it. So the first one is the FSX module. It's got 2 seats that pop up on the side, so you can have 2 more spots. As well, there's storage underneath, and then it's got a 21-gallon live well that goes in the middle. This is the Flex 29 module. So this one has a 29-gallon live well. In this door, it runs pretty much all the way to that edge right there. Nice big live well, big enough for the fish I catch. And then on this side, you've got more storage. This is where I keep my tools, electrical stuff, an extra bumper, heat shrink tubing, all those goodies. So I picked it because I'm always wanting more storage in my boat, and I thought, you know, 29-gallon live well is great. And then lastly, there's the Flex 50 module, and in that case, both of these doors are live wells. It's a massive live well side to side. You can use it as a bait well too, but it's for people that catch much bigger fish than me. Moving further back here, we're gonna talk about the X-Pods. So the beauty of the X-Pods is it extends your boat 16 inches. So now this boat, like I said, is 22 feet, 2 inches. So typically your transom would run in a straight line. And whoever designed this was thinking, because the beauty of this is you don't need any more garage, you don't need any more shop space. Your boat's still the same distance, especially with, you know, how big some of these motors are. It's not like your boat is sticking out any further. So you're getting like an extra casting deck in the back here, because historically you'd be right in the back. If I was a guide, like let's say a muskie guide that fished out of the back, you've got this whole nother spot. So it's amazing for times where we've had somebody with their own live scope pole set up right on the corner. We were just doing this last night, and there was 2 guys fishing on this back corner with their own dedicated live scope, and you're almost in another postal code from the guys in the front of the boat. So you're fishing for your own fish in the back. I mean, you could easily fit 1, 2, 3 people just along this backside fishing. It's massive and cool design. All right, so the other beauty of these X-Pods sticking out the back, it adds more storage space. So once again, this is where the power steering goes and some of the wiring. Behind it, you've got lots more wiring here. There's a lot of stuff going on there with the big motor, with the power steering and all the electronics I rigged. So this one is pretty much full of cords. Going over to the other side, you've got another seat pedestal in the middle here. If you want a butt seat or whatever for fishing in the back, I'll probably use it for a camera mount to go up high. All right, then going over to the port side of the boat here, the other X-Pod. This one has a little more room because it doesn't have the power steering, it just has a fuel pump in the side. But once again, you've got a big compartment in there that you could fit a lunch box, a couple tackle boxes, tools, whatever you want. So the name of the game is storage. Alumacraft has always been known for just maximizing the space in their boat, and I appreciate now there's even more space with those pods. We can talk about the motor a little bit more. I love this thing. The 400's crazy. I think it's amazing. They got the ratings bumped. They bumped the ratings on their tillers as well, so now you can put a 250 on the 205 tiller. 400's big. How fast does it go? Soon we will find out. All right, so in the back here, we got a 15-foot Talon. It's one of those things that if you've never fished with a Talon before, you don't know what you're missing with. Like, these shallow water anchors are so nice for a couple of reasons. When I'm pulling up to a boat ramp or pulling up to a beach and I don't want to tie up, to be able to just drop the Talon is a beautiful thing. I like mounting a camera on the top as well. It's an amazing angle to just capture the whole boat when you're fishing. Yeah, shallow water fishing, you pull into a bay like this and you want to cast. And if you anchor with your trolling motor, well, then your back is faced into the bay if you're pointing into the wind, right? So in this case, right now, the wind's blowing into the back of the bay, we're taloned, and now I can cast off the nose of the boat at the lily pads, at the fish. So I love having a Talon. This is the first time I actually mounted it directly to the boat. In the past, I've used a sandwich bracket. So yeah, I drilled right through the back of the aluminum, and it is absolutely rock solid. So 15-foot Talon, I guess it's effective to like 14, 13 feet, depending on what type of bottom you're dealing with. All right, last couple features. We've got, I guess, rod locker, we can call it. This thing is huge. You can fit some fly rods, whatever you need on the side here. I keep my muskie bumper. I keep my back nav light. You can also pull this little piece out. This is for rod storage as well, but you can pull that out. And once again, you've got a huge storage compartment. I like how they put the piston on it so it holds the door open when you're dealing with stuff. And then it's got rod tubes in the front as well to push your rod tubes in, so you can, like I said, fit some long rods in there. All right, then running back to the, I guess, the last feature we're gonna show. These are some rod tubes, once again, going along the gunnels. There's just so much storage, so many spots of rods. You've got the rod locker up front, you've got the tubes up front, and then you've got tubes on both sides here. Basically, they just slide in the side, and it comes with a little rod hanger here. And this is just a nice way to keep rods out of the way, but accessible still, so you don't have to open a compartment. So right there, you can do, 2 rods. You could probably fit more on there as well, but yeah, you could pack way too many rods in this boat. All right, so that is basically it for the walkthrough of my 2025 Competitor, the 205X Sport. That is most of the walkthrough, but we still have to see what the top speed of this massive 400 horsepower Verado can do. We're gonna do a little more fishing. We're gonna drop the guys off, shed some weight, and see how fast this thing will go. All right, we're back in the boat. We are gonna do the speed test shortly. As far as the ride on this boat goes, I haven't been in really rough water yet, so I can't really speak to how it rides in big water. The stuff I've been in has been very great so far. Between, you know, the windshield and the air ride seats, it's a smooth ride. With a lot of these aluminum boats too, if you want to trim down and cut through the wave, it does give you a smoother ride. You know, obviously when you trim up and less of the boat is in the water, well, then you can get a little faster and you can skip a little bit. But if you do want to, you know, go through some of those medium-sized chop, it helps sometimes to trim down. But anyways, another thing you will notice aesthetically with this boat is the curved gunnel. So it curves down to the nose here, and I would say this year of Alumacrafts, it rides nose lower, which I really appreciate. So it gives me a better vantage point. Also with, you know, where we're situated with the seat, I've got a great point of view out the front. It feels very safe, which I appreciate. All right, well, the moment you've been waiting for, the speed test, 400 horsepower. I didn't stutter, 400 horsepower on the back of this thing. I think before they were rated for 250s, so 400's big. This is the V10 Verado. I have the Revolution X25 pitch prop on the back, stainless steel. It's big, it's beautiful, and it moves this boat fast. So why did I go with a 400 horse? Well, sometimes I'm taking 8 people. Sometimes I'm taking tons of supplies to the outpost. I want to have that flexibility. Am I driving this thing wide open all the time? No, but I do say that it's a bit of a time machine, because a fast boat is one of those things where you can make up time. If I'm coming back from the outpost, I could make up a couple minutes if I'm running late. So it's fun. Obviously the fuel consumption does go up a little bit if you're running it wide open. I like to cruise around 35 to 40 miles an hour, but there's situations, tournament situations, trying to get back before a storm, you open it up, you let it eat. So we're gonna open this baby up. Important to wear your kill cord, life jacket. We got our max speed here, so whatever max speed we hit will show up. All right, enough talk. We're gonna open it up and we are gonna see how fast we can go. All right, here we go. Hope my hat stays on. We're going with the wind, with the wind. Now we're gonna trim up. 43, 45 and a half, 46, 47. Trim her up. We are now wide open. And it is crazy how little of this boat is in the water when you open her up. 62 miles an hour! 63! 63.1. We're toning her back. All right, well, there you have it. We hit 63.1 miles an hour. Before this boat was fully rigged out, I did hit 67 miles an hour. That was before batteries, trolling motor, talon, all that stuff. So this is a loaded boat right now. We got 4 batteries, onboard charger, 2 live scopes, 5 graphs, talon, over half a tank of gas, Brandon in the cockpit. We hit 63.1. So I'm sure you could probably hit 65, 66 with the gear pulled out, but I'm happy with 63. Do I need 63? Not all the time, but it will be nice in those key situations. But anyways, thanks to Woodlake in Kenora for rigging out this boat for me, and Black Sheep Outdoors for helping with some of the electronic stuff, Mike Klatt for helping run some wires. Yeah, this boat it's incredible. I love the windshield life. Do I miss the tiller a bit? Yes, they both got their pros and cons, but at this point in my life, I still get into tiller lots. I love being behind the windshield, and if it means my family's gonna come out one more time this season, well, then it's worth it to me. So anyways, the Alumacraft 205X Competitor with a 400 on the back. This is my walkthrough. Thank you for watching. Wear your life jackets.